Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another segment of Quietly Balling. We got two special guests here, Michael and Zach. Thank you for joining us today. We are here to talk about the 2022-2023 Golden State Warriors. I'm very excited to talk about this episode. There's a lot to get into, so let's get right into this episode. Zach and Michael, let's hear your thoughts on this 2022-2023 Golden State Warriors roster.
Honestly, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think the best thing that we got going for us right now is that the roster really hasn't changed all that much. And these guys now got more experience. We got a balance of like the youth and the veterans. And honestly, I think we're pretty much set up like we want to be.
Yeah, this season honestly looks even better than last season coming into it with 100% healthy Klay. Wiseman hopefully will do what he's supposed to do. And then our young guys have got a year under their belt, so they're only getting better. Jordan Poole's going crazy. And I guess our one flaw right now is the Draymond Green situation. But other than that, I think we're looking quite a bit better than we were going into last season.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. The Warriors really didn't lose much. Obviously, they lost a couple guys, Dante, and then they lost Gary Payton. And honestly, I don't think those are two huge losses. But what you're gaining this year is James Wiseman, a better Jonathan Kuminga. You're getting Jordan Poole is going to break out. He's in a contract year. Hopefully, he can break out this year. And I honestly think there's a lot of upside coming into this year. And then, what do you think, Tyler?
I agree. As the years go on, obviously Steph, Klay, Draymond, all those guys, the core pieces, they're getting older and older as the years go on. So I'm excited to see if they're still, their prime selves or if they're going to start slowing down a little bit. That should be really interesting to really see if they're still their Golden State self or if they're starting to slow down and the rest of the league's going to catch up to them. Because I know me and you, Noah, we've talked about it in previous episodes, but this league is really catching up to the younger players, and the talent is just growing and growing every year. And the league's expanding very quickly, as we know, and it's crazy to see how much this league is expanding. But going off of that, I think the Warriors are gonna be who the Warriors always are. They'll play quick. They're gonna get the ball out of the rim and get quick, fast break points as much as they can and try and run on teams as much as they can. But we'll see if that age is starting to catch up to them or not. But the one thing I do want to get into and hear your guys' thoughts, let's go into the Draymond Green situation and hear your guys' thoughts about that.
So I've heard different things about Jordan Poole. I've heard that he's been acting arrogant and cocky during training camp, which, you can't really do as a young guy when you're playing with Draymond, Steph, and Klay. But then I've also heard, I saw Steph Curry said that wasn't true. I don't know if he's just trying to calm everything down or that was a fake quote or whatnot. But I saw both of that. No matter what, Draymond overreacted, as he does sometimes. Probably should not have punched him in the face. But yeah, overall, that's what Draymond does sometimes. I've never seen him do anything quite to this level with a teammate, but yeah, I've heard different things about it. So I think everyone's still trying to figure out what's true.
Real quick, I just want to jump in. Do you think the punch was called for? I know Jordan Poole pushed him. Like, Zach, you could jump in. Michael, I would love your opinion also. What do you guys think?
On Draymond's podcast in the past, he even talked about Jordan being kind of a hothead and like kind of just talking shit during practice and trying to like get in people's heads. And I'm sure that's probably what was happening. I'm sure Jordan's getting a little cockier. He's getting better. He's gotten better every year he's been in the league. And I'm sure Draymond just didn't like what he was hearing and he took it too far. I mean, it's one of those things like, sure, he's a hothead. That's Draymond's persona. That's what he's built. But you got to be professional sometimes. And punching a guy during practice, like, that's not it.
Yeah, especially being a veteran on the team. Can't really let a young guy like Jordan Poole get in your head too much. But at the same time, Michael Jordan has punched Steve Kerr in practice. So, like, it's happened before. I mean, everything's kind of softer nowadays than it was back then. But, I mean, it has happened before with star players. So, I think they're going to get through it. Steve Kerr, I think either today or yesterday, said that Draymond was not going to get suspended. He'll be there for ring night. Seemed like from what I saw that him and Jordan Poole were all good. So yeah, I mean Draymond just gonna get fined, no suspension, and hopefully they'll be able to get past their differences because I think they're both kind of hotheads, a little bit cocky each, and I think with the team they have around them, I think they'll be okay.
I'm gonna jump in real quick. I totally agree with what you're saying. You know, I'll say the better teams in this league have a lot of hotheads like that. And that's just having a team that wants to compete. Even though, it escalated to that point, we don't know. Obviously, we weren't in the practice. Everybody's probably just seen the videos and has their own assumption about everything. But there could be other questions, were there words said before this even escalated? Could the coaches have stopped it earlier? Could managers have stopped it earlier? There are so many things within the question marks of how did this escalate? What actually happened in the situation? And obviously, there must have been something that escalated it earlier in practice or something that happened that something could have been stopped. Because in a press conference that I saw from Steve Kerr said when he said that they're only fining him was that they've had multiple very detailed conversations, not just with Jordan Poole, not just with the front office, but they've had player-only conversations, they've had coach-only conversations, they've had player-coach conversations, they've had front office conversations. And it's only come down to a fine, which is pretty crazy to me. So I think behind the scenes, there must have been something that escalated that someone probably could have stopped earlier on in the practice. And I think it shows that, it's just a competitive nature. And teams like that, it's going to happen. If you don't stop it early, stuff's gonna explode. And I think that's what escalated in this practice. And obviously, Draymond Green's a hothead himself, but that comes with being competitive, and that comes with the nature of basketball. So I think Jordan Poole and Draymond will get over it, and I think it's not gonna give you guys issues this year, but we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah,
I think you make some good points, and I think Michael, like, you said something important about like the history of that, and like Michael Jordan's done it before. And honestly, I think this is something that's a lot more common than people think it is. It's just the fact that this got blown up. There was a video of it, and honestly, my biggest theory on it is that it's just an effort from the rest of the league to try to tear the Warriors down and cause issues, because I think a lot of the league is intimidated by the Warriors, and the fact that they are coming off of a championship win, their roster is pretty much the same. I think Gary Payton's the only real big loss there, but people are threatened by them, and they're going to take every opportunity they can to try to tear them down and tear Draymond down, especially because everyone hates Draymond.
I agree. I do want to jump in and mention the fact that that video got out is the only reason why this thing is blowing up. Like, you would have never heard about this if the video didn't come out. Some guy, I don't even know who it was, but some guy sold the video to TMZ. It's absolutely insane to me how someone in this organization works for the NBA champion. Someone a million other people could wish they have that job that they're sitting in doing, and you sell it for just a quick payday, and now you have an investigation on you. I think that's the worst part. And like the video getting out is definitely awful. And I do agree that this definitely happens way more than you even hear about. This has definitely happened. Also, anyone who's played sports can tell you, you love the guys next to you so much. You want them to be so good and you want to see them compete and do great. But this anger and this aggression all comes out of love, and that's just in competing. And that's just what I think is the most important factor out of this.
Yeah. I mean, going off that, talking about how people don't see it happen because it might happen a lot. I mean, even on the sidelines in games, we've seen a lot of teams get in each other's faces. I mean, obviously, most of the time there's no punches thrown, but teams are always yelling at each other. And it's usually the star player or the head coach, and they're getting in someone's face for, something happened in the game or some argument they have. So, yeah, arguments like that do happen a ton. And this one just got blown out of proportion, like we said. But yeah, I think they're just going to grow from it and they'll be okay.
And to add on to that, just from a personal perspective of it, and being a coach at the college level and understanding what the competitive nature really is, seeing that happen and knowing where the line is to competing versus making it personal is very important. There's a line where you say, okay, is this really competition or is this making it personal? And I think Draymond Green did extend the line and made it a little bit personal. But I know, at least for my team that I coach, we have a saying where it's, we leave all the competition on the court, but once that whistle is blown and the practice is over, that's when we come together and become a family. And I think that's really important to really look into this situation, because everybody wants to compete, everybody wants to have fun, everybody wants it to be a good time, but once there is a punch thrown, that's when it's really personal, and that's when people are getting in each other's heads, and you don't want that to happen, obviously, with your own program as a fan. But again, it comes down to it doesn't even come down to just Draymond and Jordan Poole. I think it comes down to the whole program. I think, you can see where the line's being drawn, and I think there's a way to stop it. But I think it's being taken out of proportion too with this video being leaked. And I think it's a big, big problem that the Warriors even got to that point where it got leaked. So there are a lot of discussions to be had with the Warriors program, just to talk about what is going on with our program. How is everything being put in proportion about this? How did the line get drawn from it just being too competitive to it getting personal? And there's a lot to look into, and there's a lot of conversation to be had. But I think even though Draymond's just being fined, I think there's still going to be conversation about how do we handle this going forward the rest of the season.
Well, really, I mean, I think the biggest issue that comes out of all this really is the fact that the video got leaked, because that clearly just shows that there's a lack of control over some of the internal things that are going on, whether it's their team. I don't know. Do you guys know who exactly it came from? I don't know if they figure that out or not, but it's clearly some sort of mess on the inside. But I think the player issue, that's something that they're going to settle. They're going to figure out. These are guys that they got championship DNA in them right now, and it's like they're going to see that there's bigger things going on, and they got things to look ahead to. Season's starting soon. Like it's gonna be blown over, and the only real issue to deal with is anything internal with the leak.
That's crazy to think about. TMZ, man, they got all 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 the loops in the world just to get a video, just to get clout. That's crazy. But I'm shocked that leaders like Steph Curry and Klay haven't come out and talked about it, which I would think as leaders, they would come out and say something about their team chemistry and how this might bring them further apart, but they're going to come together still and, be a championship contender. But I think Steve Kerr has a good handle on it. Obviously, you guys have been very good in the past decade or so. And I think it's, you guys have a good enough front office to keep the momentum of where you guys are at. And I don't know. I think your roster is good enough to compete every year, which is crazy to say because it's hard to be an organization that competes every single year. So props to the Warriors, but I think this is just one string in the road that's just gonna make them stronger when the regular season starts.
I completely agree. And I just want to jump in because I think it's time for a new subject. So this is a question for you all. So let's just say this is the 25-26 NBA season, and this is the off season just after it, just after the NBA championship. Let's say Steph Curry retires. Let's say Klay Thompson's gone too. Let's say Draymond Green's gone. Do you feel that Wiseman, Kuminga, Poole, Moses Moody, Patrick Baldwin Jr. type of names can get this done to continue your dynasty? What do you think?
It's going to be a new era for sure. Like guys like Klay and Draymond are they're irreplaceable. That's just a fact. But that's the point where you start heading in a new direction. The fact that these guys get to play under them still is going to help them to learn the culture and continue to push the culture forward. And I think all those guys you named are really solid. Wiseman has so much potential. It's crazy. I just look at DeAndre Ayton and the way his career's gone so far. I think it's pretty similar. Kuminga is an absolute dog. That guy is going to be good. I'm talking multiple all-star games. He's going to be there for sure. These guys are going to be good.
Yeah, to get to the championship level again, it's going to happen one day where Steph, Klay, and Draymond aren't there, and unlikely it's going to be in the next 5, 6, 7 seasons. And so what I think is one of those guys in terms of Poole, most likely Poole, Kuminga, or Wiseman would need to get to a top 10 level NBA player, a Jason Tatum level, a Ja Morant level. One of those guys would have to be an absolute superstar, MVP conversations. And then with those other all-star caliber players, guys like Moses Moody still there. Hopefully their first round pick, Patrick Baldwin, will be nice for them. But yeah, for them to get all the way up just with that core, not signing another really good player, you're going to have to get one of these guys to be an absolute superstar in the league, averaging 25 plus for Wiseman, maybe 25 and 10. For Jordan Poole, maybe, I don't know, closer to 30. But you're going to have to get one of those guys to be an absolute superstar after the big three leave.
And that's another conversation, as we talked about, Noah. The new generation of basketball that has really evolved now is really showing. And teams like Charlotte and Detroit, the teams that are on the come up, are really looking at draft picks and looking at who they can see for the future. And I think Golden State is in such a good spot where they can look both in the now and the future, because they have such young pieces in their roster that could be all-stars in 2 to 3 years. And I think they have all-stars that are going to be all-stars this year. And, you know, they have the best shooter of all time in Steph Curry. And I think he's a great mentor to Jordan Poole. But I think the depth of that roster is great. And that's why I was saying the organization in Golden State is such a good organization, just because their competition level is always going to be that high standard of no less than making the playoffs. I know, you know, those few years where you guys didn't make the playoffs were some really down years for you guys, but that was because you guys didn't have Steph. You guys didn't have a healthy Draymond. You guys didn't have Klay. And, you know, missing those pieces to really generate those young players to come up really hurt you guys. But now you guys have all the experience in the world, and the young pieces are just there to learn and get better for the future, which is crazy.
Yeah, going off that, that was one thing that I really wish we could change. I wish that these guys, Jordan Poole, Kuminga, Wiseman, all these young guys, I wish they had came into the league 2019. So after KD leaves, they could have had those years to kind of run their own show and still have those Steph and Klay and Draymond like helping them out and stuff. Because if that had happened, I think they would have already gone to that next level almost, and the Warriors would be absolutely insane.
So here's a real question that you know I've thought of, me and Noah have talked about. But do you think that the NBA should go back to letting players come straight out of high school into the draft?
Definitely. I mean, at this point, like, there's so many avenues to get into the league now, and it's so many guys are going G League and making money in college. And I just, at this point, I don't see the point of even having a one and done sort of situation, because there's really no point. The college basketball doesn't need it. And if these guys are good enough to go to the next level, why hold them back? Why stop them? I don't see any reason behind it.
Yeah, my view on it is, if you want to come straight out of high school and not go to college to get a job that you want to get, like, you can do that. And if you have the talent to go play a professional sport, I don't know why you have to go for a year of college and just to miss out on a year of NBA salary. I mean, I think if you have the talent and the NBA wants you, and fuck it, why not? Like, I don't know why you can't just go straight to the NBA. I think it's stupid too.
I completely agree. Kind of what I said when me and Tyler were talking about it. I kind of just basically brought up the whole Bronny situation with LeBron, and how like Adam Silver could basically put the age requirement down a year, and Bronny could come in a year earlier, so Bron and him could obviously team up, and you know, that whole thing. But yeah. And I think I want to jump into the last topic here. So real quick, I just want to hear all of your opinions. And, you know, I'm sorry, I feel like I just keep asking you guys questions, but what do you guys think about Steve Kerr? Do you think that having the Splash Brothers and Draymond makes him seem like a better coach than he is? Or do you think that he legitimately is a good coach, and Steph, Klay, Draymond couldn't do this with anyone else?
Well, me and Zach have watched their whole championship run, a lot of their playoff games together. And back when he first started, I mean, 2015, obviously, it's like, yeah, that's a great championship. And then it gets to 2017, 2018, and we're sitting there like, I mean, there's a play where Draymond gets hurt right in front of him, and he's just zoned out. And we're like, at that point, we're like, dude, this guy is literally just letting us 4 all-stars go out there, the best team, argue the best team of all time, go out there, just play basketball and win. At that point, I'm thinking like, all right, well, I mean, I could coach this team at this point. But then, you know, watching more and more of it, kind of understanding the game more growing up, I'm kind of seeing, okay, yeah. I mean, this guy's a winner for a reason. He won 5 championships as a player. Now he's winning as a coach. And then especially after Durant leaves, I mean, they had those down years. You can't do anything. You're starting Kai Bowen at point guard and Willie Cauley-Stein, whatever, these bench warmers. But then when they come back this year and win a championship with the group they have now, that solidifies that Steve Kerr is a hell of a coach and probably one of the best ever. And in my opinion, I think that Boston is more talented than us just down the roster. I mean, they're one of the best defensive teams I've ever seen. Obviously, Jason Tatum kind of choked in the finals, but talent-wise, in my opinion, I think they have more talent than the Warriors, and we were able to beat them in Boston multiple times. And that comes down to, I mean, obviously having Steph Curry, but it also comes down to having Steve Kerr be a hell of a coach and win in Boston twice in the finals, which is a very difficult place to play, as many NBA players and coaches have said. But yeah, so overall, I think Steve Kerr is a great coach.
Yeah, I mean, like Michael was saying, I mean, we've been watching this team for a long time, and I think I've talked a lot of shit about Steve Kerr, if I'm being honest, and I think a lot of that comes from seeing Mark Jackson kind of build this whole squad up, and then getting ditched right before all the benefits start rolling in, and just not seeing him get his flowers, for all the work he put in. And like Michael was talking about, with Steve just kind of sitting on the sideline looking like he's completely just zoned out while these guys just go out there and win basketball games. Kind of just makes you think, like, is he really doing anything here? But I think, yeah, after watching for these last few years, you see that Kerr was really the perfect coach for this team. He was perfect to push the culture that they built there further, to be honestly a cheerleader at times for Steph, for Klay, to kind of push them to be better, and to kind of let Steph take the reins and be the face of this team and carry this team. And he didn't mind if they were kind of running the show. He's willing to take a step back and know that he's not the head. He's not the one like running the show, And I think that's kind of what's proven him over the last few years, rather than having good schemes and whatnot.
Yeah, and real quick, yeah, about Mark Jackson, I think that's a reason why we didn't like Steve Kerr at first, is because I think we were both massive Mark Jackson fans. I mean, he brought us from a 20-25 win team to a playoff team that, I mean, 2013, they won their first series against the Nuggets, lost to the eventual Western Conference champion Spurs, and then the second year they lost to the Lob City Clippers in 7, with a younger Steph, younger Klay. Draymond wasn't really as much as a starter or a factor as he is now. But yeah, I think that's why we were upset at first, is because Mark Jackson just did a lot of work for that team, and Steve Kerr just came in and, I mean, obviously won a championship with a team that, had to go up against LeBron in the finals, that was younger and a little more inexperienced. But yeah, that's our Mark Jackson take, I think.
I'm gonna step in for a second. And honestly, Mark Jackson, I think he was a great coach. I think he gave Steph Curry the confidence to be the Steph Curry he is now. But my big thing is Draymond. Obviously, Draymond was young. I don't know if it was his rookie year or a few years in, but Draymond was really young when Mark Jackson left. And I think without Steve Kerr, I don't know that Draymond would be the Draymond he is today. So I think that Steve Kerr has done an incredible job bringing in not just guys that can play, but guys that you don't really think about are gonna be, super talented guys. And Steve Kerr is a great developmental coach, coming in, seeing these underground players that work their butts off just to get a roster spot, and now they have roster guys that should be starting on most of these other teams in the NBA that they're just sitting on the bench, coming off the bench on the Warriors, which is pretty crazy to think about, because no one would think that some of these guys on the roster should even be in the NBA a few years ago, possibly.
I also want to note that something I think we should definitely be looking for this year is how well we do on the defensive end, just because I think one of the reasons we've been so dominant over these years is really Mike Brown. He has been so huge for us. His impact on his defensive coaching has been absolutely huge for us, and I think we're definitely gonna feel the loss, like not having him move on to the Kings. And that guy's done it year in, year out. He's proven himself, and he's a big reason why defensively we've been so solid over these last 5 or 6 years.
I just want to jump in real quick and ask you two Warriors fans, coming from a fan's perspective, do you guys really think that Steph Curry is an elite defender, or is he a defender like people think he is and isn't that good? He's just getting the credit because Klay's such a good defender and Draymond's such a good defender, and they have such good defenders around him that he doesn't need to be that elite defender. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I wouldn't consider Steph to be an elite defender, but I also don't think he's what a lot of people. I mean, he's obviously improved very recently, and a lot of people have always put him as a subpar defender. I mean, I don't think it's true. You're correct about Draymond and Klay really helping him out. I mean, that does make him look like a better defender, but he's a solid defender. Just Steph Curry without the other guys. He's a very solid defender. He normally averages a lot of steals a game. He's usually up there in the league in that category. And so I think he's getting more recognition recently, especially this last year, he got called a two-way player. And I don't know if you saw the press conference or whatever it was, but the emotion on his face was pretty awesome because he was just super geeked and excited to have someone call him a two-way player after being in the league for 11, 12 years. And no one's ever thought of him as that until this year. People are starting to realize his defense. But I still will not put him at elite defender.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would never call him an elite defender, but the defensive slander that he's had over his career is completely unwarranted. I mean, he is not a big guy, but he's pretty damn strong. And he's got active hands. He does everything he's supposed to do at his size. And I think people that are calling him a defensive liability are just completely wrong. And he's proven that.
Yeah, another thing is that he's a very underrated rebounder for a 6'3" point guard. He's been an underrated rebounder, I think, his whole career. And just like his defense has gotten more notice this year, I think I've heard, announcers and whatnot talk a lot about his defensive rebounding and how crucial that is for him sometimes when Draymond and Looney are dealing with the big guys down low, getting those battles. And Steph comes in there and gets a lot of rebounds that a lot of 6'3" guards are just not going to get usually.
Yeah, I mean, he's an absolute workhorse. That is undeniable. The stamina on that man is pretty impressive at times. And like Michael was saying, I think he's averaged close to 5 rebounds a game for pretty much his whole career. I think somewhere around there. And he gets the steals. He's active all the time. He's always moving. And I think people talk about how great that is on the offensive end, but on the defensive end too, it shows. It shows. He's everywhere, and he's always working hard.
Yeah. Well, That is a great perspective. I think, I see obviously Draymond and Klay as elite top defenders in the league. And I think for how much you guys win, I don't think Steph Curry gets the credit that he deserves defensively. I think he works really well in that group, and I think that's why people say offensively he has the energy he has to get open shots because he doesn't work defensively. But I don't agree with people on that because I think to win games you got to play defense, and without getting stops, Steph Curry isn't getting the points that he's getting, because a lot of his points and a lot of the Warriors' points that I've noticed while watching them, at least, is they get out in transition very quick, and then Steph's playing off screens, running off whatever he runs off of in circles all day, 24/7, and he just doesn't lose energy. But he gets open shots from their transition offense, and I think their transition offense is what makes them who they are. And that goes to credit from their defensive play, which is crazy to say, but I think Steph Curry is a better defender than people think. The last final topic that I kind of want to talk to you guys about is Warriors fans, and just to hear your perspective. And I think, viewers will want to hear this to kind of cap this episode off. I personally see you guys running through the West. I think the West is not as good this year. As Warriors fans, what are your guys' expectations? Do you guys think that you guys should run through the West? Do you think it's going to be an easy run to the finals again? What are you guys' perspectives on this?
After being a Warriors fan for these last 7 years, I think the expectation is always a championship. As long as this core stays together, and like I said earlier, they're only getting better from last year with all the young guys. In terms of the West, I know the Grizzlies have these young guys that think they're all that, and Draymond's kind of put them down, saying, "Hey, you got to do something first before you talk all your shit." And the one team that I am actually terrified of, that I actually do not know if we could beat in a 7-game series, is a healthy Los Angeles Clippers team. I think Kawhi healthy is a top 5, 6, 7 player in the league. Paul George also just top 15. And then John Wall coming back. We'll see what he's like. But, I mean, they're a very uncertain team due to injuries, due to John Wall, what kind of talent he still has. But the Clippers scare the living hell out of me for the West, especially. Other than that, there's going to be the Suns that'll be hanging around, the Nuggets. The Mavericks are making a name for themselves. The Timberwolves made a lot of improvements, but I think the Clippers in the West are the biggest problem right now. And then in the East, the Boston Celtics going to be coming back with a vengeance, and I would not be surprised if they are in the NBA Finals again with Malcolm Brogdon now, and the same piece they had last year, only getting better. With a healthy Robert Williams, I don't know, that team's going to be pretty insane. Still got Giannis, so the East is still there, but yeah, the Clippers are like the one team that, if they're healthy, they might just win it all.
I try not to anticipate injuries, but it's kind of how it's been the last few years at least. So as far as seeding, I don't know where we're going to land, but we're a playoff team for sure if we're healthy enough. And I mean, like Michael was just saying, I have to agree. The Clippers are pretty much the only team in the West that I'm actually kind of terrified of. If the team's fully healthy, it's a problem. Kawhi is pretty much impossible to stop when he's on his game. As far as the rest of the West, I mean, the Suns have already fallen off quite a bit from what they were a couple years ago. I mean, they're a good team, but they don't scare me. And I mean, Nuggets are still there. Grizzlies are still there. Solid teams. Pelicans are going to be good, I see. But other than that, I think, I mean, like Mike was saying, dude, he hit it on the head there. Celtics, I see them in the championship this upcoming year. I see them being back. That team, healthy, is pretty amazing. My confidence was an all-time low in the last finals, so still scared of them too. But I definitely think we'll be good with the West.
I do want to jump in quickly. I agree with basically everything you said. So, as a Hawks fan, I'm in the East, and this doesn't really, I guess, pertain to me until we hit the finals. But if I'm the Warriors, the only team in the West that scares me is the Clippers. And I think all of your points are valid. Obviously Kawhi, Paul George, they just got John Wall, they have Norman Powell, they have Rocco, they have Zubac, they have dudes. They have so many guys that could just, go out there and score a bucket, play defense, do whatever. But I do think that until further notice, the league still runs through Golden State. The Clippers have to prove that they are a better team than you and they can beat you in a 7-game series. Because, yeah, sure, they can take 1, 2, but they got to beat you 4 times. 4 times. That's a lot. And obviously, yes, the Clippers are a really good team. The Warriors are a really good team. And for me personally, that's my 1 and 2 in the West. But on the other hand, when you talk about, the Suns, you could talk the Timberwolves, the Grizzlies, everyone wants to talk about the Lakers, but, this year is a little different. But I think all the outside teams really don't have that much sway in the competition or even in the NBA title odds. I really think that the Warriors are still the best team. The Celtics are good, the Clippers are good, the Bucks are always good, the Nets look good. It's really just going to come down to who's going to beat who in a 7-game series. Obviously, that's how you win the title. But I don't know if there's another team in the league that can beat the Warriors in a 7-game series.
To add on what you said, Noah, the one thing as a Warriors fan that I can get out of my head a little bit and not be too stressed about is when I look at the Clippers roster versus the Warriors roster, I would say the Warriors have as good, not even, maybe even better talent than the Clippers. But I think that 7-game series is going to come down to coaching. And when I look at the coaching between Steve Kerr and Ty Lue, I don't even think that's a competition. I know that might be a long shot, and people think Ty Lue, he was questioned for Coach of the Year last year. I've never been that big of a Ty Lue fan. I think Steve Kerr runs him out of the gym, coaching-wise. And I think that's where, as a Warriors fan, I would be ecstatic to play against the Clippers because, yeah, they have all the talent in the world, but are they going to have the right game plan to beat you guys is the real question. And who knows? I think Steve Kerr is a way better coach, and I think you guys will have a way better game plan to stop guys like Paul George and Kawhi. But that's coming from a coach's mindset like me, being a coach and thinking about the game of basketball and thinking about game planning more than a lot of other people do. But that's just my mindset on that.
Last thing, so I just want to get everyone's opinion here on your finals predictions here this season. One thing I forgot to bring up about the Celtics is that Ime Udoka is also suspended for the year, which is complete bullshit to me, but that's a whole different conversation. But I want to hear everyone's finals prediction.
For me, yeah, I'm definitely going with the Warriors again on the West. I really don't know if there's another team that can beat you. You have a healthy Klay, you have Steph, Draymond, Poole, Moody, Kuminga, Wiseman. There's just so many guys on the team. But I honestly think the East is a little harder just with the talent. and how it's kind of spread out over there. So I would probably, if Udoka wasn't suspended, I would put the Celtics in the finals. But since he is, I'm not going to. I honestly think that it's going to be a Warriors Bucks finals.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same wavelength with you right there. With Udoka there, I'm easily taking Celtics going back. The Bucks would have to be my second choice, but I can't copy you, Noah, so I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go Celtics Warriors.
And to wrap this episode up, I'm gonna say, as I said earlier, it comes down to coaching, and it comes down to game planning. And I think, the Celtics losing Udoka is a really big loss, even though they have all the talent in the world. I think who knows? Maybe their assistant coach interim coach is the best coach in the league, but I don't know. I don't really see that. I think the Bucks have the second best coach in the league in Budenholzer, and I think it's going to be a Warriors Bucks finals, and I don't think anybody can really play to Giannis's standards. And as a Bulls fan, it's really tough for me to say that, because I wish I had better expectations for the Bulls. But yeah, I think it's going to be a Bucks Warriors finals.
Yeah, I think. I hate to take the same team in the West, but as a Warriors fan, I'm not going to take anyone else. So I'm taking the Warriors. And I'm going to go different than everybody here. Might be a pick that people might think I'm stupid for, but I believe in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and I think that Ben Simmons is going to have a breakout year after his whole thing. And I think the Nets might end up going to the finals to play the Warriors, have a little Kevin Durant return to Golden State in the finals.
Ooh.
hey, I have a feeling that Kevin Durant is gonna have a half step on the 3-point line and lose another series. That's my thought on it. But we'll see. It's gonna be an exciting 22-23 basketball season, and it's a long-awaited basketball season. It's been a long summer, and we start in a week. So I'm excited for basketball to finally be back and start up again. But thank you all for watching. It's been a great episode. It's been great having both of you come on and join. Thank you both for coming on to the podcast. We really enjoyed having you guys, and we enjoyed talking about the Warriors. It's been a long-awaited episode to be able to talk about the 2021-2022 champs, and I'm excited to see what their organization is going to look like going forward. So thank you guys again for coming on. Thank you to the viewers for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
You guys are great. Thank you.